Section 2. There is one kind of virtues pertaining to the political character, and another to the man who tends to contemplation, and who on this account is called theoretic, and is now a beholder of intellectual and intelligible natures. And there is also other virtues pertaining to intellect, so far as it is intellect, and separate from the soul. The virtues indeed of the political character, and which consist in the moderation of the passions, are characterized by following and being obedient to the reasoning about that which is becoming in actions. Hence, looking to an innoxious converse with neighbors, these virtues are denominated from the aggregation of fellowship political. And here prudence indeed subsists about the reasoning part, fortitude about the irascible part, temperance is the consent and sympathy of the epithumetic part with the reasoning part, and justice in each of these performing its proper employment with respect to governing and being governed. But the virtues of him who proceeds to the contemplative life consists in a departure from terrestrial concerns. Hence also they are called purifications, being surveyed in the refraining from corporeal actions and avoiding sympathies with the body. For these are the virtues of the soul elevating itself to true being. The political virtues therefore adorn the mortal man and are the forerunners of purifications. For it is necessary that he who is adorned by the cathartic virtues should abstain also from doing anything presendaneously in conjunction with body. Hence, in these purifications, not to opine with body, but to energize alone, give subsistence to prudence, which derives its perfection through energizing intellectually with purity. But not to be similarly passive with the body constitutes temperance. Not to fear a departure from the body, as into something void and non-entity, gives subsistence to fortitude. But when reason and intellect are the leaders, there is no resistance from the irrational part, justice is produced. The disposition, therefore, according to the political virtues, is surveyed in the moderation of the passions, having for its end to live as a man conformable to nature. But the disposition according to the theoretic virtues is beheld in apathy, the end of which is similitude to God. Since, however, of purification, one kind consists in purifying, but another pertains to those that are purified, the cathartic virtues are surveyed according to both these significations of purification. For the end of purification is to become pure. But since purification and being purified are an ablation of everything foreign, the good resulting from them will be different from that which purifies. So that if that which is purified was good prior to impurity, which with it is defiled, purification is sufficient. That, however, which remains after purification is good and not purification. The nature of the soul also was not good prior to purification, but it is that which is able to partake of good, and is boniform. For if this were not the case, it would not have been situated in evil. The good, therefore, of the soul consists in being united to its generator, but its evil is an association with things subordinate to itself. Its evil is also twofold, the one arising from an association with terrestrial natures, but the other from doing this with an excess of the passions. Hence all the political virtues which liberate the soul from one evil may be denominated virtues and are honorable, but the cathartic virtues are more honorable and liberate it from evil so far as it is soul. It is necessary, therefore, that the soul, when purified, should associate with its generator. Hence, the virtue of it, after its conversion, consists in a scientific knowledge of true being. but this will not be the case unless conversion proceeds. There is therefore another genus of virtues after the cathartic and political, and which are the virtues of the soul energizing intellectually. And here indeed wisdom and prudence consist in the contemplation of those things which intellect possesses, but justice consists in performing what is appropriate in conformity to and energizing according to intellect. Temperance is an inward conversion of the soul to intellect, and fortitude is apathy according to a similitude of that to which the soul looks, and which is naturally impassive. These virtues also, in the same manner as the others, alternatively follow each other. The fourth species of virtues is that of the paradigms subsisting in intellect, which are more excellent than the physical virtues and exist as the paradigms of these, the virtues of the soul being similitudes of them. And intellect, indeed, is that in which all things subsist at once as paradigms. Here, therefore, prudence is science, but intellect that knows all things is wisdom. Temperance is that which is converted to itself. The proper work of intellect is the performance of its appropriate duty, and this is justice. But fortitude is the sameness and abiding with purity in itself, through an abundance of power. There are therefore four genera of virtues, of which indeed some pertain to intellect, concur with the essence of it, and are paradigmatic. Others pertain to soul now looking to intellect, and are filled and being filled from it. Others belong to the soul of man purifying itself and becoming purified from the body and irrational passions. And others are the virtues of the soul of man adorning the man, through giving measure and bound to irrational nature and producing moderation in the passions. And he indeed who has the greater virtues has also necessarily the less. But the contrary is not true, that he who has the less has also the greater virtues. Nor will he who possesses the greater energize precedenteously according to the less, but only so far as the necessities of the mortal nature require. But the scope of the cathartic virtues is entirely to obliterate the remembrance of the passions, and the scope of the rest subsists analogously to what has been before said. Hence, he who energizes according to the practical virtues is a worthy man, but he who energizes according to the cathartic virtues is an angelic man, or is also a good daimon. He who energizes according to the intellectual virtues alone is a god, but he who energizes according to the paradigmatic virtues is the father of the gods. We therefore ought especially to pay attention to the cathartic virtues, since we may obtain these in the present life, but through these the ascent is to the more honorable virtues. Hence it is requisite to survey to what degree purification may be extended, for it is a separation from the body and from the passive motion of the irrational part. But how this may be effected and to what extent must now be unfolded. In the first place, indeed, it is necessary that he who intends to acquire this purification should, as the foundation and basis of it, know himself to be a soul bound in a foreign thing and in a different essence. In the second place, as that which is raised from this foundation, he should collect himself from the body, and as it were from different places, so as to be disposed in a manner perfectly impassive with respect to the body. For he who energizes uninterruptedly according to sense, though he may not do this with an adhering to affection and the enjoyment resulting from pleasure, yet at the same time his attention is dissipated about the body in consequence of becoming through sense in contact with it. But we are addicted to the pleasures or the pains of sensibles in conjunction with a promptitude and converging sympathy, from which disposition it is requisite to be purified. This, however, will be effected by admitting necessary pleasures and sensations of them merely as remedies or liberation from pain, in order that the rational part may not be impeded in its energies. Pain also must be taken away, but if this is not possible, it must be mildly diminished, and it will be diminished if the soul is not co-passive with it. Anger, likewise, must as much as possible be taken away, and must by no means be premeditated. But if it cannot be entirely removed, deliberate choice must not be mingled with it, but the unpremeditated motion must be the impulse of the irrational part. That, however, which is unpremeditated is imbecile and small. All fear likewise must be expelled, for he who is adapted to this purification will fear nothing. Here, however, if it should take place, it should be unpremeditated. Anger, therefore, and fear must be used for the purpose of admonition, but the desire of everything base must be exterminated. Such a one also, so far as he is a cathartic philosopher, will not desire meats and drinks, except so far as they are necessary. Neither must there be the unpremeditated in natural venereal connections. But if this should take place, it must only be so far as to that precipitate imagination which energizes in sleep. In short, the intellectual soul itself of the purified man must be liberated from all these corporeal propensities. He must likewise endeavor that what is moved to the irrational nature of corporeal passions may be moved without sympathy and without animadversion, so that the motions themselves may be immediately dissolved through their vicinity to the reasoning power. This, however, will not take place while the purification is proceeding to its perfection, but will happen to those in whom reason rules without opposition. Hence, in these, the inferior part will so venerate reason that it will be indignant if it is at all moved, in consequence of not being quiet when its master is present, and will reprove itself for its imbecility. These, however, are yet only moderations of the passions, but at length terminate in apathy. For when co-passivity is entirely exterminated, then apathy is present with him who is purified from passivity. For passion becomes moved when reason imparts excitation through verging to irrational nature. Everything which is situated somewhere is there situated according to its own nature, and not preternaturally. For body, therefore, subsists in matter and bulk. To be somewhere is to be in place. Hence, for the body of the world, which is material and has bulk, to be everywhere is to be extended with interval, and to subsist in the place of interval. But a subsistence in place is not at all present with the intelligible world, nor, in short, with that which is immaterial and essentially incorporeal, because it is without bulk and without interval, so that the ubiquity of the incorporeal nature is not local. Hence, neither will one part of it be here and another part there. For if this were the case, it would not be out of place, nor without interval. But wherever it is, the whole of it is there. Nor is it indeed in this, but not in another place. For thus it would be comprehended by one place but separated from another, nor is it remote from this thing but near to that, in the same manner as remoteness and nearness are asserted of things which are adapted to be in place, according to the measures of interval. Hence the sensible part is presented indeed with the intelligible world according to interval, but a truly incorporeal nature is present with the world impartibly, and unaccompanied by interval. The impartible, likewise, when it is in that which is interval, is wholly in every part of it, being one and the same in number in every part of it. That which is impartible, therefore, and without multitude, becomes extended into magnitude and multiplied when intimately connected with that which is naturally multitudinous and endued with magnitude, and the latter receives the former in such a way as it is adapted to receive it, and not such as the former truly is. But that which is partible and multitudinous is received by that which is naturally impartible and without multitude, impartibly and non-multitudinously, and after this manner is present with it. The impartible is present impartibly, without plurality, and without subsistence in place, conformably to its own nature, with that which is partible, which is naturally multitudinous, and exists in place. The impartible is present impartibly, without plurality, and without subsistence in place, conformably to its own nature, with that which is partible, and which is naturally multitudinous, and exists in place. But that which is partible, multiplied, and in place, is present with the impartible essence, partably, multitudinously, and locally. Hence, it is necessary to survey of these natures, to preserve and not confound the peculiarities of each, or rather, we should not imagine or opine of that which is incorporeal such properties as pertain to bodies, or anything of like kind, for no one would ascribe to bodies the peculiarities of the genuinely incorporeal essence. For all of us are familiar with bodies, but the knowledge of incorporeal natures is attainable by us with great difficulty, because through not being able to behold them intuitively, we are involved in doubt about their nature, and this takes place as long as we are under the dominion of imagination. Thus, therefore, you should say, if that which is in place is out of or has departed from itself through having proceeded into bulk, that which is intelligible is not in place, and is in itself, because it has not proceeded into corporeal extension. It is also requisite that, calling to mind the peculiarities of both of these, we should not wonder at the discrepance which takes place in their congress with each other, if, in short, it is proper on occasion to use the word congress. For we are not now surveying the congress of bodies, but of things which are entirely distinct from each other, according to peculiarity of hypostasis. Hence, also, this congress is different from everything which is usually surveyed in things essentially the same. Neither, therefore, is it temperament, or mixture, or conjunction, or apposition, but subsists in a way different from all of these, appearing indeed in all the mutual participations of consubstantial natures, in whatever way this may be effected, but transcending everything that falls under the apprehension of sense. Hence, an intelligible essence is wholly present without interval, with all the parts of that which has interval, though they should happen to be infinite in number. Nor is it present distributed in parts, giving a part to a part, nor being multiplied does it multitudinously impart itself to multitude. But it is wholly present with the parts of that which is extended into bulk, and with each individual of the multitude, and all the bulk impartibly, and without plurality, as numerically one, but it pertains to those natures to enjoy it partably, and in a distributed manner, whose power is dissipated into different parts, and to these it frequently happens that through defect of their own nature they counterfeit an intelligible essence, so that doubts arise respecting that essence, which appears to have passed from its own nature into theirs. Truly existing being is neither great nor small, for magnitude and parvitude are properly the peculiarities of bulk, but true being transcends both magnitude and parvitude, and is above the greatest, and above the least, and numerically one and the same, though it is found to be simultaneously participated by everything that is greatest and everything that is least. You must not therefore conceive of it as something which is greatest, as you will then be dubious how, being that which is greatest, it is present with the smallest masses, without being diminished or contracted. Nor must you conceive of it as something which is least, since you will thus be dubious how, being that which is least, is present with the greatest masses, without being multiplied or increased, or without receiving addition, but at one and the same time receiving into the greatest magnitude that which transcends the greatest bulk, and into the least magnitude that which transcends the least. You will be able to conceive how the same thing abiding in itself may be simultaneously seen in any casual magnitude, and in indefinite multitudes of corporeal masses, for according to its own peculiarity, it is present with magnitude of the world impartibly and without magnitude. It also antecedes the bulk of the world, and comprehends every part of it in its own impartibility. Just as vice versa, the world, by its multitude of parts, is multifariously present, as far as it is able, with truly existing being, yet cannot comprehend it, neither with the whole of its bulk, nor with the whole of its power, meets with it in all its parts as that which is infinite, and cannot be passed beyond. And this both in other respects, and because truly existing being is entirely free from all corporeal extension. That which is greater in bulk is less in power when compared, not to things of a similar kind, but with those that are of different species or of different essence. For bulk is, as it were, the departure of a thing from itself, and the division of power into smallest parts. Hence, that which transcends in power is foreign from all bulk, for the power proceeding into itself is filled with itself, and by corroborating itself it obtains proper strength, on which account body proceeding into bulk through a diminution of power is as much remote from truly incorporeal being, as that which truly exists is from being exhausted by bulk. From the latter abides in the magnitude of the same power through the exemption of bulk. As therefore truly existing being is, with reference to corporeal mass, without magnitude and without bulk, thus also that which is corporeal is, with reference to truly existing being, imbecile and powerless. For that which is greatest by magnitude of power is exempt from all bulk, so that the world existing everywhere, and, as it is said, meeting with real being, which is truly everywhere, is not able to comprehend the magnitude of its power. It meets, however, with true being, which is not partably present with it, but is present without magnitude and without any definite limitation. The presence, therefore, of truly existing being with the world is not local, but assimilative, so far as it is possible for body to be assimilated to that which is incorporeal, and for that which is incorporeal to be surveyed in body assimilated to it. Hence, an incorporeal nature is not present with body so far as it is not possible for that which is material to be assimilated to a perfectly immaterial nature, and it is present so far as a corporeal can be assimilated to an incorporeal essence. Nevertheless, this is not effected through reception, since if it were, each would be corrupted. For the material indeed in receiving the immaterial nature would be corrupted through being changed into it, and the immaterial essence would become material. Assimilations, therefore, and participations of power, and the deficiency of power, proceed from things which are thus different in essence from each other into each other. The world, therefore, is very far from possessing the power of real being, and real being is very remote from the imbecility of material nature. But that which subsists between these, assimilating and being assimilated, and conjoining the extremes to each other, becomes the cause of deception about the extremes, in consequence of applying through assimilation the one to the other. Truly existing being is said to be many things, not by subsistence in different places, nor by measures of bulk, nor by coacervation, nor by the circumscriptions or comprehensions of divisible parts, but by a difference which is immaterial, without bulk and without plurality, and which is divided according to multitude. Hence also it is one, not as one body, nor as one place, nor as one bulk, nor as one which is in many things, because it is different so far as it is one. And its difference is both divided and united. For its difference is not externally acquired, nor adventitious, nor obtained through the participation of something else, but it is many things from itself. For remaining one, it energizes with all energies, because through sameness it constitutes all difference, not being surveyed in the difference of one thing with respect to another, as is the case in bodies. For on the contrary, in these unity subsists in difference, because diversity has in them a precedaneous existence, but the unity which they contain is externally and adventitiously derived. For in truly existing being, indeed, unity and sameness proceed, but difference is generated from this unity being energetic. Hence true being is multiplied in impartiality, but body is united in multitude and bulk. The former is also established in itself, subsisting in itself according to unity. But the latter is never in itself, because it receives its hypostasis from an extension of existence. The former, therefore, is an all-energetic one, but the latter is a united multitude. Hence, it is requisite to explore how the former is one and different, and again, how the latter is multitude and one. Nor must we transfer the peculiarities of one of those to pertain to the other. It is not proper to think that the multitude of souls was generated on account of the multitude of bodies, but it is necessary to admit, prior to bodies, there were many souls, and one soul the cause of the many. Nor does the one and the whole soul prevent the subsistence in it of many souls, nor does the multitude of souls distribute by division of the one soul into themselves, for they are distinct from, but not abscinded from, the soul, which ranks as a whole. Nor do they distribute into minute parts this whole soul into themselves. They are also present with each other without confusion, nor do they produce the whole soul by coacervation. For they are not separated from each other by any boundaries, nor again are they confused with each other, just as neither are the many sciences confused with one soul by which they are possessed. For the sciences do not subsist in soul like bodies, as things of a different essence from it, but they are certain energies of the soul. For the nature of soul possesses an infinite power, everything also that occurs in it is soul, and all souls are, in a certain respect, one. And again, the soul which ranks as a whole is different from all the rest. For as bodies, though divided to infinity, do not end in that which is incorporeal, but alone receive difference of segments according to bulk, thus also soul, being a vital form, may be conceived to consist of forms ad infinitum. For it possesses specific differences, and the whole of it subsists together with or without these. For if there is in the soul that which is, as it were, a part divided from the rest of the parts, yet at the same time that there is a difference, the sameness remains. If, however, in bodies in which difference predominates over sameness, nothing incorporeal, when it accedes, cuts off the union, but all the parts remain essentially united and are divided by qualities of other forms. What we ought to assert and conceive of a specific incorporeal life in which sameness is more prevalent than difference, to which nothing foreign to form is subjected, and from which the union of bodies is derived. Nor does body, when it becomes connected with soul, cut off its union, though it is an impediment to its energies in many respects. But as the sameness of the soul produces and discovers all things through itself, through its specific energy, which proceeds to infinity, since any part of it whatever is capable of affecting all things when it is liberated and purified from a conjunction with bodies. Just as any part of a seed possesses that power of the whole seed, as however seed, when it is united with matter, predominates over it, according to each of its productive principles which the seeds contain. And all of the seed, its power being collected into one, possesses the whole of its power in each of the parts. Thus also in the immaterial soul, that which may be conceived as part has the power of the whole soul. But that part of it which verges to matter is vanquished, indeed, by the form to which it verges, and yet is adapted to associate with immaterial form, though it is connected with matter, when withdrawing itself from the material nature, it is converted to itself. Since, however, through verging to matter, it becomes in want of all things, and suffers an emptiness of its proper power, but when it is elevated to intellect, is found to possess a plenitude of all of its powers. Hence, those who first obtain a knowledge of this plenitude of the soul very properly indicated its emptiness by calling it poverty, and its fullness by denominating it satiety.